Are you ready for the dollar to collapse and for gold to explode on August the 22nd, 2023? Well, according to one analyst, that's exactly what's going to happen. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why that will not happen, but that there could be an important announcement coming on that date that could put gold and silver and the dollar in a whole new paradigm shift. I'll explain why as we explore. Now, there's a lot of hype out there, and in fact, there's one individual who I had a lot of respect for, but in recent years here, he's been saying some pretty wild and crazy things. He has got a lot of street cred. In fact, he's got a lot of behind-the-scenes credibility as a former CIA and Department of Defense advisor. And he's also an investment banker. But James Rickards has been predicting some pretty off-the-wall and wild stuff. We're going to go through his latest report here and see exactly what this entails. And I think really, even just reading this on the surface just makes you question it unless you react totally emotionally. But it just goes to show you that really, no matter what kind of background somebody has, you got to look about what the impetus and what the motivation is behind such a wild and crazy thing. You know, a lot of times there's some things that could happen in reality. They may have repercussions, but it may take years for them to actually come true. But August 22nd very well could be an important date. But then again, this announcement may not actually happen. But we'll get into that in a moment. So he's saying here that on August the 22nd, the most significant development in international finance since 1971 will be unveiled. He says the upcoming BRICS Leaders Summit, which will unveil plans for substituting the dollar in global trade. Now, that's going to be a very tall order to happen and for an announcement in one day. It's interesting to note that on that same day in 1971, August 22nd was also the day the U.S. dropped the gold standard. And in reality, it had dropped the gold standard long before, but we were under the Bretton Woods Agreement so that all dollars would be convertible to gold. But now it's going to be moving in the opposite direction. The window was closed on that day. But anyways, he goes on to say that it involves a rollout of a major new currency that could weaken the role of the dollar in global payments and ultimately displace the U.S. dollar as the leading payment currency and reserve currency. He added that, noting that the shift could span over a period of just a few years. He says that the push for a new currency spearheaded by the BRICS Plus group will affect world trade, direct foreign investments, and investor portfolios in a dramatic and unforeseen ways and cause an unprecedented geopolitical shock waves. He also gave the BRICS Plus plans for expansion are the most important development of the BRICS system, noting that 8 countries have so far already applied for membership, along with 12 others expressing an interest in joining the bloc, including Saudi Arabia, which assisted the U.S. in propelling the dollar currency to the status of the world hegemon through the establishment of the petrodollar system. By the way, that was implemented in 1973. And was Henry Kissinger alone, a man who is now, I think, 99 years old, who's essentially saved the dollar through this petrodollar that we still enjoy the benefits of today. There's more to the list than just increasing the headcount of future BRICS meetings. He emphasized, pointing that if Saudi Arabia and Russia are both members, you have 2 of the 3 largest energy producers under 1/10. And there's no question about that BRICS Plus nations and the whole aspect and concept is growing and is becoming stronger. De-dollarization is in effect, but it's not having a massive impact yet, but it is having a growing impact, and it is, even now, a threat. There's already been some talk about it occurring. about them, moving away. They want to do that. Rickards predicted that the process of de-dollarization could occur at a much faster pace than previously expected, owing to the fact that several countries are opting to carry out trade in financial transactions in local currencies, but also because of the growing strategic relationship between Beijing and Moscow as the two superpowers jointly confront the U.S. And remember, after the invasion of Ukraine and the sanctions that occurred there, that sped up the de-dollarization that we've seen. I've covered multiple examples of that on this channel. And that's going to have an effect on gold and the dollar, because he thinks that it's going to be a gold-backed currency. And gold is going to be the one common denominator, because these countries themselves, they have different agendas as well. And it may be a looser alignment than many of the G7 countries. And so the gold is going to be the one thing that's going to kind of unite them together, is what he thinks. But, there's different takes on this, but essentially, this all boils down to a crazy thinking that this is going to happen overnight or even just a few short years. I think it's going to take quite a bit longer than that. The dollar's dominance is something that is quite profound. And he also says that this announcement that could be coming, I've looked at it on several other different platforms here. There's an Indian source that talks about it too, but with a much more balanced view. They think that this expansion of BRICS, which could be a major blow to the U.S. dollar, but it's going to take quite a long time for it to occur. If they do back it up by gold, and there's been no announcement that that's going to actually happen yet, August 22nd could mean that it is backed by gold, and that means that gold's profile will greatly increase if they can pull it off. That's a big if they can pull it off. We just don't know. There's a lot playing on this, and cooperation and also the infrastructure to make it occur within these countries is something that's got to really grow, and it's going to have to happen with the same values systems that are in the West, and you don't have that in the East with a lot of these groups. Values and also infrastructure, and also just overall looking at their self-interest in many of these nations. They want to join because essentially they want to take away the dominance of the dollar, but anything could crack on the other end that could make it all kind of pull apart. Because these economies and these nations, even though they're the most populous and they are growing in influence, is something that pales in comparison to the U.S. economy. And again, we have hubris here in the U.S. because if we think that the dollar is too big to fail, that our economy is too big to fail. But I tell you what, there is a growing threat greater than ever before that it could, but I still think it's going to take quite a bit of time. And the powers that be on the progressive side of the modern monetary theorist and the other ways that we're destroying our country, we're still, in spite of all of that, we're still very resilient here. So that is the approach that I'm taking here. We should be very careful about how this new prediction that Jim Rickards gives. And again, I'm not discounting the fact that some of this stuff couldn't happen. There's another website that talks about this that pretty much agrees with me that it's going to take quite a bit in order to quell the dollar in all of this. The U.S. dollar serves as a de facto reserve currency and is widely held by central banks around the world and used for international transactions. If the new BRICS currency were to gain significant traction and acceptance among countries, it could contest the U.S. dollar status as a primary reserve currency, but the new BRICS currency could lead to a gradual shift in global currency reserves away from the U.S. dollar. It could potentially reduce the demand for U.S. dollars and weaken its position in international markets. A decrease in demand for the dollar leads to the depreciation of the currency as it loses supply and demand dynamics. But the U.S. dollar status as a world reserve currency is based on a variety of factors. The factors include the size and stability of the U.S. economy and the trust and confidence placed in its currency. Any significant impact on the U.S. dollar status would require a substantial shift in global economic and geopolitical dynamics. Additionally, launching a new currency involves numerous challenges and complexities, including coordination among these BRICS countries. The new tender, that is, a legal tender of these currencies needs to build credibility and confidence in the global markets. The BRICS alliance needs to create the necessary infrastructure and institutions to support its use on a global scale. These factors could play a crucial role in determining the success of the new BRICS currency and financial system. The US dollar could remain a dominant force, as the soon-to-be-released BRICS currency is yet to prove its mettle. And so how will they do that? They would use gold in order to make that occur, to make that happen. Gold. And I don't have any non-Western gold coins here to show you, except for maybe the Rickards here, which was the very first. I actually did a video on the importance of the Rickards, the one that started it all in 1 ounce form and set the standard for gold bullion coins out there. Yes, indeed, it is the Rickards. A beautiful piece indeed. But nonetheless, gold could be the foundation, but then gold would greatly restrict their ability to manipulate their own currencies, to serve their own self-interest. And they don't want that. Nobody wants that in the world today. Right now, they're all fiat currencies. Who wants to have a currency that is restricted by gold? And I would dare say no one, including these nations. But that's the only way you can get them to trust and come together with this. They may announce something, and they may make gold a part of it, but it's going to take quite a long time in order to have a dominating currency based off of these measures. And there's so much complexities in order to essentially start a new European Union, or type of European Union, that was started in Europe. And even so, that's tied together with the U.S. and the G7 nations. It'll be quite fascinating to see how this all plays out. But let me know what your thoughts are about what's going to be coming in August. We'll be watching closely, because I think even the announcement of a currency that challenges the dollar is big news, and it will change a lot of things. But the only way that it will completely change gold and the dollar is if you have a powerful union, a new powerful currency that will do what Jim Rickards predicts in just a few short years, challenge the dollar to the point where it collapses and gold shines out bright and actually increases in price and maintains a value that we've not seen, any of us have seen, that have been alive, that are alive now. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Hope you found this video insightful, educational, and informative. I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.